he is still around, and we'll share this conference material so that you can continue reading it at your convenience. So without further ado, I want to introduce my esteemed panel, and I'm going to give each one of them 2 minutes to quickly introduce themselves, because we are going to talk about a subject related to marketing. So on my extreme end is Dr. Paulos, and I'll give him the floor to introduce himself briefly.
Thank you, Barrack. I'm Paulos Nyirenda. I'm from Malawi. I operate the Malawi.mw country code top-level domain registry. And we are a 3R registry. We have just, we moved from originally 2R on our own software. Right now we are running 3R on the Fred registry system. A competitor to Coca. And we are very happy with it. I think the topic today is very relevant to us. For .mw registry, the biggest issue right now is recruiting registrars. And I think that this is a very big issue for most CCTLDs. So I see the question here, how do we ensure our registrars, resellers run a sustainable business? This is very relevant to what we do. And making sure that we have a competent, trusted registrar is a big issue. And I think that the presentation from Yaovi indicates how big this issue is when you are going to become an ICANN accredited registrar. They are required a lot of trust to be available. You need to be reliable. You need to be technically competent. And you need to be able to market the domain name system as a business. So for registries like ourselves, the marketing of the DNS or the marketing of the top level domain is a big issue. And when you move to 3R, you're actually moving this responsibility to registrars. Trust is extremely important in this case. So the registrars need to be trusted. I wanted to raise the other issue, which is policy. Policy is also extremely important. And when I look at policy, 2 issues arise, whether it is closed or whether it is open. And what I see from the presentation from Yaovi is that the ICANN system is open. And this is, I think, how it should be. The policy for becoming a registrar should not be closed. Unfortunately, if you look at registries in Africa, on average, the policy is closed. And because the policy is closed, it becomes very difficult to become a registrar. A few years ago, there was a study by Norway, Otieno, that evaluated how much progress you can make on an open policy or a closed policy. And the observation was that the more open you are, the better a chance you have of growing your registrar and domain name business. So it's a flag that I want to raise, policy, open or closed. The worrying thing is that in Africa, the legal regulatory system right now is moving more and more towards closed. We're moving more and more towards moving the registry into regulators, and a regulator by design is a closed system. So this is what the worry that I have, the worry that I'm opening up to the floor and to the rest of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Paulos, for those initial remarks. As I move to Arif, I was just reading an African proverb that says, good things sell themselves, those that are bad have to be advertised. Is this your experience with this business here in Botswana? You can give us an experience of a local reseller or registrar here in Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Again, my name is Arif Patel. I'm representing a local company here called Microtech, but my history with Boca has been a long one. And actually, I was part of the technical advisory committee that helped formulate the BW registration policies, procedures, pricings, all of that kind of stuff. So I've got a bit of more background than some other people. In the past, it was all paper formed. You know, you would submit an application, you know, you'd cross your fingers, hope that it would go through, and it was basically handled by the incumbent telco. And we in the business community found this unacceptable. You know, it would just take too long. People would be asking for registrations, you know, and it would be up to them whether they decided to register it or not. So eventually BOCRA, through its wisdom, did eventually take it over. We then did deploy a COCO-based system, so it's now online. So registrations went from being a paper-based system, going from days to weeks, to taking literally, you know, as fast as you can click to get a domain name registered. In terms of fees, the registrars are basically, you know, open market, so they can charge whatever they want. Consumers can shop around. In terms of registrars that they want to go and register their domains with. You know, some of the most common requests we get are obviously are for new registrations, transfers, renewals. The only thing particular here is that you can only register co.ac and .org BW domains. The top level BW is closed. There were some previous registrations done at that level, and then the incumbent operator decided, oh, I think we made a mistake, so they stopped it. So that's kind of what happened, and that's why you see some BW registrations and some not BW to registrations. And we get requests also from people asking us for the second level domain, and we tell them, sorry, we're not allowed to register those. And we get many requests from web developers for registrations. Coming from the actual consumer itself, we don't get that many. Most of the registration requests comes from third parties, people providing extra services to customers, and selling them, says, okay, look, you know, we'll put your company on the web, we'll get your domain registration, so you get an email account and those kind of things. So that's the history of the model here that we have here in Botswana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arif, for your initial thoughts. I will quickly turn to Sola. We've been talking about a registrar, a reseller, and when I look at the audience, I see some people are wondering, is it a registrar of companies? Is it a registrar of births? Who is this registrar? So maybe as you take the floor, it will be good to just say in a layman terms, what does a registrar do? And does this work pay your bills? Maybe we could just be talking about numbers, as Mohammed was saying, while these numbers do not really amount to anything. So over to you as you make your initial remarks.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Sola Akinsanya from Upperlink Limited, Nigeria. We operate in Nigeria. We're an ICANN accredited registrar. And just like the question is asking, registrars of domain names. So that's one of the business that we do. Upperlink Limited is a software company, and we're actually licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria as a payment solution provider. And we also became ICANN accredited registrars when the country AfTLD actually and we became accredited back in 2014. And we've been talking in terms of domain names. There have been so much questions going around. Does it actually pay the bills? When you have the numbers, it does. When you have the numbers, it does. But when the numbers doesn't count for you, you tend to start to struggle. And what we see basically in our continent is that we have so many resellers. And the numbers would have actually counted for Africa if they actually come under the African accredited registrars. We have many of our resellers being under the other continents, registrars from other continents, and just like Yaovi has said, we are 11 in the continent, and we're hoping that we'll get more registrars to come and join us and do the business. There is actually profit in the business. That's when you actually know what you're doing. Yes, when you know what you're doing. It's you use money to get money. That's what it means. You use money to get money. You don't just want to become ICANN accredited registrars and immediately you are looking at the figures Yaovi was mentioning there. You'll be thinking that when will you recoup this money? But when the right strategies are actually put in place and the right marketing tools, and you do your survey rightly, the numbers will actually count. But we're hoping that from all these forums that it will actually change for the better. And I'll just quickly, for 1 or 2 minutes, talk on about a few things. We actually want to talk about how do we retain our customers and how do we reduce deletion. Everything budgets about keeping them. The main thing is this, quality service delivery. He was talking about a proverb that is a good business? Yes. Sell itself, and the bad ones you need to do advertising for it. Actually, we're in a different era right now where digital marketing is everywhere. You can just be searching on the web and you are seeing the like of other registrars. Those in the continent are not visible. When there is no visibility, who will come and patronize you? Nobody. When there's no visibility. So that's why I was talking about you need to use money to get money. So not only that, it's good service delivery. Once you have that, you don't need to do much work. Your loyal customers will be the one advertising you. What I call mouth-to-mouth marketing. They will be the ones to be telling you, oh, go to this place, go to this place. And not only that, good customer service and good customer experience. It's not the one you come to our own portal right now. Before you want to come in and go out, you're already asking questions. How do I do this? How do I do this? So that's actually discourages people. So I'll just stop at this junction. Give it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those initial remarks. I will go back to Arif. .bw is interesting because the domains, the registry does not really sell the domain names, as it were. But then you mentioned the fact that the registrars or resellers sell them to customers. So I'm really curious, how does the local market perceive the domain name business? Is it basically as a product, or do they look at it from a service angle? What is this that makes them desire to buy the domain names?
From my perspective, it's basically just to get online. Like the previous panelist was saying, was to get a service, for example, an email address, so that they look professional, they look local. Because if you see a company that's got a Gmail account or a .com account, you're saying, well, are they based here locally, or are they based somewhere else in the world? So if they've got a .bw account, it would imply to people that, oh, okay, so you're a local company here selling the goods and services.
Thank you. And just a rejoinder, with regard to some of the issues that Dr. Paulos raised earlier, what do you think has impeded the growth of .bw? Because we are speaking of 8,000 names against what population? 2 million, which seems to be the same case across the African continent. Is there an element of policy that is affecting that growth?
No, I don't think so. I think if you look at the number of registrations that we have compared to the number of registered companies, you'll find that a lot of the registered companies are very small organizations, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people in the organizations. And so they look at it from a cost perspective. Even though it costs them almost nothing for the registration, they're saying as well, if it's going to cost me money to go and get a website, host a website, have an email account, have an email service, who's going to manage that, that kind of stuff. They think it's pretty technical, it's too complicated for a small shop, but any organization, 10 or more, they pretty much have domain names, and if they want to seem professional or local, then they will get it. And it also comes back to the people who are advertising to them, marketing to them. For example, web developers will say, look, we'll create a website for you, get you an account. So basically what they're looking for is they're looking for someone else to do the work for them, to create an account, to create an email account, manage that service for them. It's something that they don't want to do. If it's something that they have to do themselves, then they're going to say, no, we don't know how to do this, and they're not going to bother with it.
Thank you very much. I will shortly be turning to the audience. So please prepare your questions because I'll take a quick round and we'll be closing, or rather we'll be ending the panel in the next 10 minutes. But before we do that, I would like to turn to Dr. Paulos to speak to an issue, basically high deletion rates of domain names. Is this a challenge you're facing as a registry? I would have loved to hear a perspective from .bw, and what could be the cause of these high deletion rates, and how are you dealing with them as a registry?
On the .mw registry, we actually have quite a high renewal rate at the moment. The high deletion rate that we faced was when we were moving from 2R to the 3R model. During that transition, we needed to move a lot of the domains to registrars. And also we needed to clean up the registry, because running a 2R registry means that you are doing most of the things by hand. And when you're doing most of the things by hand, tracking what is an active domain or what has been renewed, it gets to be pretty difficult. With our current 3R model, we're able to track this through automation. And since we moved from 2R to 3R, our growth rate has actually improved quite significantly. And I think that one of the things on .mw that people really like is that it's open. The only extension that is closed is the government extension, gov.mw. That's only open to government. But the whole of the second level and any of the third levels are open. So I think policy is important. If you have a good policy, you'll be able to maintain good renewal rates for your domains.
Thank you very much, Dr. Paulos. Now I turn to the audience. Do we have any questions or any comments from the floor? I see one question there. Any other person? So that I pick them quickly. I see Mohammed at the back. I see Mohammed El Bashir here. Mohammed, I would request you move closer to the mic. But quickly, let's start with our first questions. Please introduce yourself, sir.
It's Victor. Just a quick question. Why is it that we don't have access to the .pw domain without the AC or CO? Just victor.pw. Yeah, that.
Thank you. I think Arif will take that question. We can have Mohammed El Bashir.
Yes, thank you. Two questions, one. Almost in terms of, you said it's difficult to find good registrars. I mean, what is the problem that they don't exist in the country? I mean, if you be specific in terms of what's exactly the problem. And for Arif, for the BW, how many companies are, company registration in Botswana? Just, I'm interested to see the company registration versus the domain name registrations.
Thank you very much. Mohammed?
Okay, my question goes to all the panelists. In regard with the new free market for Africa, I mean, we have heard that the African Union have signed an agreement to make Africa become a free trade market for all countries. And also they have discussed as well the issuance very shortly of a common currency that called the ECO to reduce the cost of the transaction within the African continent. How do you think all these special event and transformation can impact the registrar market and the reseller market within Africa? Is any discussion going regarding this transformation, this huge transformation of Africa becoming a whole one single market with a one single currency? Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. I will request Dr. Paulos to start by answering the questions that have been directed towards him, as also you make the closing remarks. And then we'll have Arif, then Sola, and finally Yaovi.
Thank you, Barrack. I think there's the question, why is it difficult to recruit registrars? I think in our case, we have a policy that the registrars need to meet. And because we've transitioned from 2-hour to 3-hour only recently, we find that many registrars are struggling to meet the policy. In other words, the big issue is trust. They need to earn the trust of their registrants. Most of the potential registrars were already resellers for our system. But our experience is that when we are moving them to become registrars, some registrants tend to doubt whether they will become good registrars. So issue of trust is a big issue. The other issue is that the potential registrars do doubt in themselves whether being a full-time registrar is a good business. And I think that they think that there is not enough business in setting domain names for them to make enough of a profit. And only those who have now started making the numbers, as my colleague has said, are now seeing that indeed it is a viable business. So it's taking time for us to convince them to think that it is a viable business. The free market for Africa for us is a big blessing. And I think it can only be a big blessing if you are open. If you are closed, it becomes very painful. So I think that the policy of being open as a registry and as a national policy you could benefit quite a lot from the widened open market that Africa is now presenting to us as registrars.
Thank you very much, Arif.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the first question, access to the .bw. Actually, when I was in the TAC, that was a very contentious issue. There were some that argued that the top level should be opened up 100%, and others, among myself, said no, it shouldn't. The arguments we made was in terms of classifications. We argued that if you open it up to top level and you had an organization, people wouldn't know, the general public wouldn't know whether that was a school, whether that was a business, whether that was a nonprofit. And we felt that the subclassifications would help organize companies and registrants in particular classes, so that when they're advertising themselves, the general consumer would know, or the audience would know that this is a school that's their domain, or this is a company. So if you're going to a school, then you would assume that they have a .ac.bw registration, and that's what we would argue again about when I was at the TAC, and I guess the management executives at BOCRA took our advice and held to that standard still. Regarding the number of company registrations, I don't have the exact figures, but it's estimated to be about 100,000 registered companies here in Botswana. And again, it goes back to domains. How many of those domains are actually active, being used? It's again debatable. We have this issue with BOCRA. We're asking them how many ISP licenses that you've issued are actually being used by people. You may have registered, you may have given out 500 ISP licenses, but where are these 500 ISPs? So it'd be the same thing. Where are these 100,000 businesses? That kind of stuff. The one other fact I would like to mention regarding deletion of domain names. In my particular experience, we don't get many requests for people wanting to delete domains. They've registered them. What always happens is with the COCA toolset that we have, is they get reminders when their domain names comes up for renewal. I think it's 60 days before, and then they have 30 days after it's expired to still renew it, and then I think another 30-day grace period. It's always after that grace period when the domain stops working that they suddenly call you, so my domain's not working anymore. I says, well, yeah, because you've been getting notices for the last 3 months saying that your domain is about to expire. Why haven't you done anything? Oh, I didn't know what that was about. Thank you.
Now they know. Sola?
Thank you, Chair. Just like what Dr. Paulos said, as long as the registry are open, what Mohammed was actually asked, the question he actually asked, I think it is a positive for the continent, in the sense that we'll be talking with one voice as if we're using a single currency, and which we equally give more power to the value of the currency. And I'll just quickly just mention some pointers. I'll just round up. Visibility is key, and so also is quality service delivery. And we, as registrars, we need to do more. It's not only just doing this. Once we're able to affect our communities, the numbers will actually speak for us. It will speak for us, and thereby making the business a viable one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Yaovi.
Thank you, Chair. I want to mention that domain name, as we used to say, we say we can register for let's say $10. But the reality is that this business is very important business. So when we say like $10 or less, it's not for any domain name. So it is very important and good business because all the names, they don't have the same value. So this is something very important to keep in mind. And also this morning we heard about digital economy. So we have many people in this room who are already in the ICT related area. So becoming an ICANN accredited registrar is an opportunity for them because they are already in the market, they are doing something. So they can add this also to what they are doing by becoming an ICANN accredited registrar. And finally, to react to the open market in Africa, we have seen some CCTLDs signing agreement between them. And I think this open market is an opportunity again to help registrars, even if they are accredited by registries, CCTL registries. It can be a good opportunity for these registrars to have a bigger market and then to have the business grow. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Yaovi. I see a hand raised, but allow me to overlook it at this moment. But just to confirm whether we are together or we are in safe mode. I see a number of us swinging from side to side. We've been deliberating whether our registries should be open or should be closed, or whether we should embrace an open policy or a closed policy. Just by a show of hands, let me see those who are for an open registry. Closed? Where are the others? In the village? Okay, the yes have it. Yeah, so, well, I know some of these concepts may still be taking time to sink in, but we are continuing with this conversation for the next 2 days, and I'm sure we are going to repeat some of the issues that we are discussing.